draft gets weaker the deeper the series goes, because you still have all those removed champions that we have to the top of your screen. 30 of them gone. So some of those high prio picks you can utilize have now been removed. Skarner and Callista will still hit the bench.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. Interested to see Nocturne coming out as a ban. I feel like whenever I think about the roles that get pinched the most later in drafts, support, particularly engaged supports, like we've seen Alistair, Poppy, Raul, Leona, Nautilus, Rakan, Maokai, which is also Flex, is gone, Galio, which is technically Flex, is gone, so a lot less engaged supports available. 80 carries, the pool gets shorter quite quickly, and jungle. Jungle, I feel like we get to this point where, you know, a lot of the meta junglers get taken away, and we start looking at things like Viego, which we haven't rated too highly recently, but also are conditional on other aspects of the composition to set up, and it looks like Gen G heavily targeting that jungle pool away from Peanut right now.
I mean, historically, Canyon has had a much larger champion pool than Peanut, especially in terms of some of the AP picks that we see, like the Karthus, but I feel like Peanut does have his own special finals picks that we've seen, like his Kha'Zix that does surface from time to time, but it's tougher to make a draft like that work when you don't have all the moving parts you want to set it up because of Fearless. So we'll see what he does end up going with. 2 jungle bans away from him, the Wukong and the Nocturne now. Jace banned every game, so every red side we've just had these same 3 bans. So you can almost argue on red side you don't get bans at all.
Especially with Tovi playing Mbessa in that first game, it really pinched the top lane pool, so you don't want to give blue side Jace because there's not a lot of answers for red side. But Varus not banned this time. It's the first pick for Gen G.
And almost no 80 carries left in the pool can go toe-to-toe with Varus without great setup. So it's a great blind pick. I feel like it's one of the safest and best picks you could get in this situation.
I think you might end up with like a mage situation potentially here, because you definitely don't want to take something like Xayah into Varus. That would just feel horrific. And they end up picking the Zyra with this jungle pool pinched. But one of the things I found with the Zyra is into long-range pokes, you can really struggle. You really want to close the distance. She wants people to close the distance on and come into her plans. If it is that poke Varus, he's kind of just going to poke away from a long way away. And again, a lot of engaged supports banned away. Sorry, not banned, like denied from Fearless.
Fearless
so,
banned, yeah.
Won't be able to assist with closing onto the Varus.
And like the Jhin pick here too has been an old favorite. I mentioned the Karthus earlier. And in these best of 5s, Canyon loves to pull it out, especially if he's playing against D+, but he's going to pull it out here. It's a pick that can farm very quickly, so can match the Zyra, and arguably even get ahead, and he's going to be hard farming. The Bard pick here, pretty strong into Zyra, I would say.
Yeah, into 2 immobile carries with the Zyra and the Jhin. This feels so hard already for HLE to play. Like, you can just, it's so non-committal. You can just throw these things out from a distance, and if anyone gets low enough, Karthus just presses R. It feels like a fight wouldn't even necessarily need to happen. And honestly, you know, Sylas is a good pick for Zeka, don't get me wrong, but I would really be emphasizing, like, we need an engage pick now before, I mean, if we go to the next rotation even more banned away, it's going to be a struggle. Like, what is Delight going to turn to? Bard is one of the picks that he leans on typically, and that's out of the question.
Yeah, obviously the Rakan is gone. So, I mean, Leona, Nautilus, all of these picks that Delight has loved to play when they need that extra oomph, that extra engage.
Any Blitzcrank enjoyers?
I'm not so sure about it in this draft.
Pike banned away?
I think that's a more realistic one.
That's a good call.
Honestly, like, it makes sense to ban the Pike, but like Delight's last performance on it wasn't that amazing, and also Pike is he's not as surefire engage as all these other champs. Like, Pike isn't like, hey, I engage, I clump everyone together, with the all in, and
we're learning.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely a great ban in this situation.
Yeah, because that isn't necessarily engaged, but it's just a lot of run on top of squishy champion, kill squishy champion in late game threat. I was going to be really disappointed if they just let that one through in these game 4, game 5 situations. Zeus has made such a big impact on it. Now that can engage.
There was a lot of talk with Zeus as well. I wonder if they're considering flexing it in certain situations.
The thing is, I think they probably won't, just because I think this is kind of like the limit of the pool of champions for Delight. You know, you need something to close the distance. I don't think Pantheon is like super convincing because he's squishy and also you'll kind of get melted later. But I guess the hopes from HLE is that they get enough of a lead so they can kind of find the momentum in the game and it's not as much of an issue.
Wait a second.
Wait. I see 2 junglers on my screen.
Or
is Chovy playing Karthus mid?
It may just be the Karthus mid.
Oh my god. Into silence.
What year is this?
Well, it feels like we're going back to the very early days of League of Legends. Now, when we see the Sion, you know the Nara, which was banned earlier, is definitely going to be the go-to pick here. I don't think there's anything else Zeus would like to play into this, except maybe Vayne. You know, maybe in the old days you'd be like, it's a TF angle. Yeah, the Nara is going to just chunk and chip away at the Sion, and Mini can just kind of outpace him and get some advantages.
Could also just be mid Viego, which...
Wait for the swap on it, but I feel like there's some edges that Gen G have in this draft that haven't fully been addressed with what HLE picked up in the latter end.
Well, we've seen some weird drafts, so we got another one as we hop into the rift for game number 4. All right, here we go.
Karthus has Smite, so that answers that. I thought, like, the only other thing I could see is, like, for some reason, Canyon's like, I'm the Karthus master, let me play mid, you can play jungle. That's the only other thing that was in my head as we loaded into this one, but nothing that crazy. But remember, this is your tournament life on the line. This is LCK Cup on the line. This is first stand on the line to actually pull out the Viego mid. For the first time we've seen it in, what, 4 years? That is pretty crazy. That's pretty bold.
I feel like this is the thing where, like, teams have these picks that they, you know, they're ready to bring out should the situation arrive. But in a typical meta, we just don't normally see them ever come to fruition. The conditions aren't right. There's other more higher priority picks they take instead. But I feel like with Fearless, the teams will have lent into that more, practiced that more, and it's unlocked scenarios where you're willing to bring out things like Viego mid. Like, we don't know the intricacies of, like, how long has Chovy had this in his wheelhouse? You know, how long has he thought this is potentially viable? Has he practiced it in scrims on a hidden Smith? Like, we just don't have the information.
The runes grasp, demolish, you know, it has some longevity with that grasp if he can stack it, and will make him a little bit tankier, a little bit tougher to deal with. He's going to be dual laning here with Keen with the lane swap, so that will leave some of the early pressure here as well.
I mean, my thought is, if this were like a top lane matchup, I would feel like very good about the Viego into the Sylas, because Sylas has very nice burst, right? He can extend a fight, but Viego, I feel like, should win in a long one. As Chovy, or rather Zeka, gets hit by a gigantic knockup, just a full charge. Meanwhile, Zeus is just TPing away. He's like, all right, see you later, buddy. He's a level 1 Nari. He's going to hit level 2. And now already flashes away from the binding as Duro does take the aggro. Here comes the TP down to the bottom side. Keen trying to get in there and get aggro himself, as there it is. First blood comes in, and Keen even able to flash away. As clean as that, they get first blood for Gen G.
Yeah, I honestly was wondering if they were just going to let Sion die and just go on a passive and just clean up on the turret, but this is such a huge blow to HLE, because not only did they get Zeus with no recourse, but he TP'd to the tower. Like, they can actually just block him from getting back to the tower again.
And he can't get back here. Remember, he also left Zeka out to dry, so Zeka's now no longer in control of this mid matchup in any sense, as Chovy actually has a massive amount of control there. So 2 winning lanes here for Gen G suddenly, and HANWHA Life, I think, kind of dropping the ball on the defense here. It was a very greedy teleport from Zeus. Ended up getting level 2, had the Mega, but I mean, flashes can get you out of those sticky situations, even with a turret ramp damage, if you have them, and they did. Yeah, it's a bit of a wonky start to this one.
At least he's level 2. He does get back to the majority of the wave, but there's already 2 turret plates down. Delight, he really wants to see what's going on here in the jungle. He's going to find out real quick that he will have to use his flash now. he does have to flash. At least he delays some backs and keeps them low. And down here on the bottom side is kind of a wonky spot for Gen G as well.
We've seen this before with Sion. Even before swaps kind of returned, you do this play where like you play around bot in the early game and you really sacrifice your own lane, but it's not that big of a deal. You return top, like you're level 1, maybe the enemy top lane is level 3. They're really committing to that. Like Keen is behind in experience quite heavily compared to Zeus, but he's a Sion, and I just think this is the play they're going for. Have as much pressure towards the bot lane as possible. Sion, he'll always do his thing.
I mean, there's some weird things we can talk about in terms of how like team fights will work in this game. Of course, assuming no more shenanigans and a little bit more of an even game state than some of the games we've seen in this series so far. But if Canyon is able to, because of Ruler's Poke, get into basically close to Illim range with his ultimate, drops the Requiem, then Chovy can kind of steal whoever got caught with this Viego and start to pop off and carry. He's going to have a lot more farm than a Viego traditionally would have in the jungle because he's playing it as a mid laner and later on a side laner, so he's constantly going to have that influx of gold and could really take over this game if he's set up for success. I think a lot of this is going to come down to how much consistent poke both Canyon and Ruler can hit at the beginning of fights, because the Requiem in a lot of ways can just be that big finishing touch that Chovy needs to get the first reset. It's weird to think about this sort of combo, but that's kind of where we're at.
I feel like Delight has been lost a lot of the game. You know, like he went to the top side, didn't do anything. He walked over a ward, wasn't able to find anything there. Kind of wandering through his own jungle a little bit, you know. Now he has finally regrouped down to the bottom side. They're really trying to get as many people down here to deny a dive. They will be able to at least do that.
I will say though, Dura is really trying to help Canyon secure some camps, because Canyon obviously spent a lot of time bot sorting out the dive and has fallen behind compared to Peanut. Was a level that still is down a level, about 60% of a level in total, but down a couple of camps compared to the Zyra. And obviously these AP junglers, when you get ahead on them, just completely destroy jungle camps, and if you start to fall behind, Peanut will just inhale any camps he gets access to.
Yeah, it's very snowbally for sure. Canyon though will hit level 5 here, and we haven't had a big traditional team fight just yet. Grubs are up right now. Keen heading back, no teleport, so gonna be a big edge here for HANWHA Life. They can start these up quickly. No plant set up here really for Peanut though. And he's vacating the area. Super tense moment here at the beginning of this game. Remember, Genji's permanent life on the line, and they actually are going to start to take this away.
I don't think that HLE can comfortably contest this with the fact that Chovy's level 6. Zeka only just hits his level 6 now, but like the power of the Viego, that spike is so big.
But Genji kind of just let it go. Like they went in, they got one and left.
Yeah.
So Peanut's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll just take them down.
I guess the big thing is that they have both bot laners on the top side.
Yeah.
So don't really want to lean into that and risk like a fight of numbers disadvantage. But the fact that Genji can walk in, deny the contribution towards the feats, deny one of those grubs, and then just walk, and then Canyon just walks back to his jungle and starts farming again.
Yeah, and Zeus did not have teleport and was on the other side of the map, so Ruler is just able to chill, grab more plate gold. You can see Ruler is actually 600 gold ahead of Viper right now on this Varus pick. Has just been free farming this whole game and got the early kill, obviously, but he's starting to really build those advantages, and he's such, to me, the main integral part of how this composition is going to work later on. You have some setup here, obviously, with the Bard we talked about. You can follow up with the Chains of Corruption, but that damage that he's going to add in with the Lethal Temple variant here is going to be what really helps set up those Requiem bombs. And so getting him ahead at this point actually feels fantastic for Genji. And, you know, you got one grub, you denied the 3. Feel pretty good about what you got cross-map.
Yeah, not a crazy amount of action in this one. Feels a little bit like Game 3, except, you know, we don't have one team who's amazingly ahead. Genji are ahead at this point in time with a big lead for their mid and AD carry. Chovy not going to get stunned up here as we have the 1v1. Zeka going to steal that. Viego ult, the Heartbreaker looking, just begging Chovy to take another fight as in he goes for the aggressive trade. Delight nearby, but Chovy will respect.
You know, takeaway so far from this matchup is I haven't been wholly convinced by the Viego.
Yeah, not
Sylas.
He definitely needs more items, I think.
Yeah.
Than the Sylas.
You know, one other thing about this, you know, when you look back to the draft, the bans against Peanut, He won't have Viego anymore either, by the way. Moving forward, if Gen G win this game, we
no
go to 5.
paper, man?
Yeah. You know, just another small little fearless edge they were able to pick up. So I don't think that's the reason, but I'm still looking for the reason myself, you know?
I mean, if you ever felt like a jungler or any pick was a little bit, you know, iffy in their jungle pool, as Delight is going to get caught a little bit, but he is Pantheon. If you ever felt that way, you should be practicing his champs in mid lane or top lane, right? Just to have a chance.
I think that's more of a thing earlier in the series. I feel like when you're 2-1 down and you have to win every game, it's a bit risky to do it just for denial. Like, you're doing a game 4 pick for denial for game 5 is a little scary.
For sure.
Like, you know, Peanut won't actually need to play a jungler next game if they just win.
Yeah, doesn't need to pick anything.
That's the kind of concern I have, but
I mean, it's early. Chovy, he's going to farm well. I think Viego, he's not going to be able to, you know, trade well right now, but eventually he will. Meanwhile, Keen, he is the counter to Viper's Jhin. He's the guy who is going to be standing in the front. This isn't quite like some other Jhin games we saw recently. Thursday.
Going for a dive onto a Scion with flash and ult.
I mean, maybe Zyra is able to chew through this health bar, but Keen is playing to the top side away from the Zyra very nicely. Chovy just going to heartbreak away. Delight, though, making plays in mid. They continuously set Chovy on the back foot and never really allow him to do much, although it doesn't really look like he's looking to do much at this point.
Support's so far away from ult. Duro, level 5. Looks like Delight also just hit it. So they're not going to be able to make big plays just yet either. They've been just kind of patching holes around the map for both of their respective teams thus far. See what happens once that critical Bard ultimate comes through. But the Pantheon ult can also be such a huge win for you in sides to be able to join up and turn a numbers game into your favor instantly. We're setting up for an objective as well, setting up flanks. We haven't seen the Gnar into the Scion directly all too much, but you can see when it does happen, Zeus is very happy about the counter pick that he did get in this one.
Oh, meanwhile, engaged here on a Chovy. Gonna respect the Zyra just flashes out. You see Gen G, they want to get as many grubs as possible. They'll get one. So deny another objective point. Some Life Esports look to close the distance, look to zone them away, but here comes Chovy once again as the Bard ult's going to sail very wide. Smite comes in. That actually went to Canyon, I think.
Yeah, I believe it did.
And so Peanut now down his smite, and now Canyon has to flash the wall. The Jhin, though, helping out, keeping him around. They're just CCing them both to death as they both disappear. As in, Zeka is very deep, and he will be traded back. Ruler now, 1v3, Delight very low, and Chovy on the stolen Silas for a bit more. But I think maybe Viper got enough room here as, yeah, Chovy no flash. Viper just walks it off.
You can kind of see what I'm talking about with Requiem Viego in this fight. Like,
it's working, you know?
It kind of works. I feel like if they had a little bit better setup there, maybe it would have actually worked out a lot better. Ends up being a pretty even trade, though, in this one. And we now end up 3 grubs apiece here between these two squads.
I think especially since HLE has such a squishy comp, like the tankiest person is the Gnar, who half the time isn't that tanky. It really means that the Requiem's not only going to do a lot of damage, but that they're so vulnerable to the Viego resets that come in. And even, you know, Varus resets when he gets a kill, gets such a boost to his stats from his passive that was tweaked a little bit ago. Really makes it scary to approach in these scenarios, because even though that looked like phenomenal start for HLE, getting those 2 kills still really didn't go that way.
I think things get a little bit easier for Gen G once Duro has his ult. Again, mentioned earlier, he's super low XP in this game. Is
Zeka sneaking around the left side. Ruler in a bit of trouble. He doesn't have his flash, but they're just missing everything. The chains, they get cleansed, and Ruler dodges almost everything, but eventually, even though Zeka and Viper tried their hardest to miss, they still got the kill.
I think that's a scenario where you just don't bin any summons, because I'm going to be honest, Ruler played that as well as he could and still died burning both summoner spells. I think that's one you have to take the read and go, it's better just to keep my flash and cleanse. He really tried to make it work. And here's that play earlier. And, you know, it's kind of sad for Duro, because he's like, I'm going to save my jungler. You know, Canyon flashes to buffer the stun, and then Duro's like, come with me. They both get trapped, but then the Chains of Corruption hits Zeka The ult comes in, the reset potential, everyone's squishy, everyone's low. It's so scary for HLE.
Yeah, and Ruler obviously has a lot of range, so he can kind of play that fight over the wall, and then he's lethal tempo as well, so when he does go in, he can continue to kind of chain that damage with Chovy. Looks like a pretty scary combo. This is just greed from Ruler, and it's starting to become a bit of a theme here. And yeah, it wasn't pretty, but Zeka's just like, well, I run you down. Sorry.
I am still Silas, so eventually you're just dead. He played around vision excellently there, so props to Zeka. Even though the skill shots weren't there, the actual play was great. As Chains, they're getting themselves very close to Ruler. As in goes the Scion, going to take out Peanut. That is the punish, but here comes the follow-up from HANWHA Esports. Very low is the Karthus. They take out Ruler as well, but the Skittle will hit onto the Mininar. Viper just going to take out Duro, who was very deep in there. That's a double kill to the Jhin, who, with a Collector against this comp, as long as they're not hitting Scion, this Jhin is going to be pumping damage.
I feel like that's a scenario where Varus really would have loved to have summoner spells. Perhaps the cleanse of the flash could have gone a long way. But a good job from HLE punishing those lack of summoners there. And able to clean up a few members off Gen G.
Such a critical part of how this comp has to work. The fact they were able to kill him in that mid lane play, and he burned his summoners, means he's vulnerable. And obviously they didn't send Chovy into this fight, didn't have the teleport available. It's very rocky that the ways that, you know, these fights can go if you're not fully set up. And the Zyra ultimate here goes wide, but it splits the team in half. Canyon's so squishy. Zeus is just like, cool, I'll take you out. And Canyon kind of dies in an awkward spot here. Wasn't able to do massive damage to anyone either.
I think you also see that Gen G were all moving away, and then when Ruler got hit by the root, they all moved back in to protect him because he didn't have an out. He didn't have a way just to easily disengage. I think the call was, hey, we got the dragon, let's leave. Oh no, our 80 carry with no sums is caught. We have to contest, and then it ends up turning around in favor of the other side.
And so far this series, you know, we had Cloud Soul in the last one, which actually was pretty big. Duro in a lot of trouble here. He is going to go golden with his buddy there, trying to get over the wall. He will not be able to survive. Gets sniped on the backside. As Viper, he's making this Jhin look overpowered in this game.
Well, you know, the magical journey has to end at the end of the magical journey. And that one's a pretty easy one to line up when you factor that in. And
it is a straight line, yes.
And so is Jin's skill shot, so well played. Viper is starting to take over this game, and I don't know if this Viego comp is going to work.
And there it is. Another root comes in from the Jhin. And against a Karthus, against a Varus, against a Bard, you're just feasting right now. It's so many kills and assists. He has been part of 7 out of 8 of the kills, and so has Peanut.
I mean, the value that they're getting from Viper on this Jhin, the setup from the roots has really done so much for HLE in these last couple of passages of play.
Yeah, and this should be, I mean, we do have Chovy on the backside here. He is level 12, and Viper kind of in a rough spot, but a miss on the stun doesn't quite matter as the chains will hit, and that is a couple of kills. Chovy on the flank, they did not see this one coming. Even the Requiem going to be utilized here just to take the kill down. Gen G strike back.
Beautiful flank coming out from Chovy. I feel like if he gets on the backline, and again, squishy comp falls over quickly, those tools aren't necessarily available. This game feels so volatile with just how much momentum each side can find so quickly.
It's just such a weird composition to play against and to try to pilot here. You're tracking a Karthus jungle, but you're also tracking this Viego, who actually walks on the top lane here. Viper channels his ultimate. Oh, this is actually the play earlier where Rhodes is trying to magical journey out, but the pathing here for Chovy. And okay, I want to see the pathing from Chovy in this real fight. Yes, this did happen. They were trickling into.
So the pathing from Chovy.
Yeah. So the pathing from Chovy here from the top side comes through. They have a controller, but he goes in Viz, and Viper's just like he has to walk towards the left side here because he's like, well, I can't get out. Like Chovy will just run me down and kill me. He's super immobile in this situation. And Chovy's just like, all right, cool, now I've got resets. Now I'm just running amok through this comp, and with the transformation, somebody can lock him down. Nobody can stop him. And unfortunately, Zeka and Zeus really just weren't there. It was kind of a greedy call, and Chovy walks around and takes him out.
Yeah, and that's the thing you were mentioning before, Wolf, where it's like this Viego, not only does he have extra gold, he's got extra levels. He's level 12, you know, coming in behind Viper, who's extremely fed. That's the only reason Viper was able to be level 12. But having a Viego be this strong, generally it's the junglers like waiting desperately to pick at the, you know, he's like very squishy. That's why we call him Paper Man. He's like just trying to be a vulture and pick on some of the low targets and get some resets. But no, it's Chovy.
Top damage in the game.
That leads the charge.
Yeah, and top farm in the game. Chovy is definitely Chovying. And also, it's Infernal Soul, which I feel like just ups the ante, because obviously it's high value, but also if either team gets it, it's just going to explode everyone. Like, Karthus with that is just in Jhin as well. Like, the base damage becomes just obscene, so both teams seem to be setting up for this dragon that's coming up.
Plus the fact that it's going to be a 3 Infernal Soul with some of those additional stats as well. We split 1-1 the first Drakes. As Herald is just going to charge through the mid lane. I don't know if they quite have enough damage to take it out, though, on this wave.
Yeah. Not quite able to get that, but this does open up this dragon. Not a lot of vision here as Peanut. Oh, he's caught max range. He is able to flash out, though. But he has to utilize his ult. He doesn't have to, but he gets out of there. But again, none of that really matters. What matters here is that Gen G get the Infernal Green.
But I think, you know, Zeus doesn't have TP and is pushing top. I think the call from HLE was not to contest in the first place, so Peanut being that far up, far enough that he could get caught, it's just a mistake. Could have backed off earlier, could have given more space, and then he would still have his Summoner spell and his ultimate. And instead, we're seeing Zeus. I mean, I think this trade is fine. They're still a long way away from Soul. A second Dragon's not going to do that much, just a small percentage of extra stats, and Zeus got 2 towers in that push.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to this Gnar. That's going to be a big threat, especially taking out this Scion later on. You have an 80 carry that went Collector first, is now getting some of that armor pen, but having a secondary Gnar is pretty huge.
I mean, they have Zyra.
And Gen G, I mean, they do have teleport for Chovy, but I think because of that, it's a bit of a...
It's the sort of play where I respect it, and the Zyra can take it very quickly, but it doesn't even take Gen G being there to combat it. If we've seen Arakan like nearly kill people by itself, and the Shred as well, all it would take is Canyon to press his R button.
Yeah.
And he'd probably get a triple kill. So I think a good move to back away.
I think they were like expecting potentially they could get a teleport out of Chovy off that play, but won't read it too well as Zeus.
I mean, yeah, he's still here. Says he's gonna hop over the top, but look at this. Now we get a Requiem. Is it enough? Not quite, as he goes Mega as well.
Oh, nice dodge.
Barely survive. Very nice dodge there in the end. And now Chovy maybe in a bad spot. Level 14, can they punish? The TP is coming in. The Bard stolen by Zeka. Gonna keep Chovy around, but everybody's golden forever. As now Zeus not even get the timing down. And that's a kill from Keen to punish. Just trying desperately to take out Chovy is not going to work in this play. Gen G pick up 2 kills. As now the knockup comes in on Akeem, but Viper can't do much damage to him just yet. It's just 2 kills to Gen G.
And, I mean, it's a scrappy fight, but it's proactive plays from Gen G. They match the teleport there, get Zeus down low, and then end up winning the fight because they had their own counter Bard ultimate there to Zeka's to actually buy enough space. Chovy flashes as soon as he's out of stasis to get away, and unfortunately that Gnar is just too low. It all starts off with this, where Zeus is like, I want some of this wave, gets a little bit too close to the Viego Mist, the Shroud here, loses most of his health bar. If he doesn't have the Mega at this exact moment as well, he was probably just dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And honestly, this passage of play was kind of comical because it reminds me back when Stopwatch was a rune and every fight was just full of stasis, but the double delay and then the slightly mistimed ult from Zeus, but to be fair, I think he just wanted to use it before Mega died down, before he got punished, and Chovy just get away, and the turnaround is so big.
Just quick flash out of the Tempered Fate where he's caught out of blast.
I'm gonna flash is what he said. I have to use flash here.
Yeah, because Duro's trying to keep him alive there, and he's like, ultimately, I'm still going to flash out of this one. As once again, Chovy does have TP. I think they want to get it.
Yeah, I mean, You can always threaten, you don't have to overextend for this, but especially from behind, it is kind of scary.
The thing is, I don't think Gen G ever need to TP Chovy in, because the threat at the Atakan is so big, combined with the Karthus ult, and also Chovy doesn't need to be there at the start of the fight, he just needs to be there for the end of it, and he will clean up. So I think it's kind of like a null threat coming out from HLE, and I think Gen G see through it.
Yeah, Gen G definitely reading them quite well on this one, as you know, Chovy is now heading up and may even be able to set up a flank here as they push that bottom wave so far up that what Zeus is doing is so transparent. And when Chovy's missing on the map, it's a little bit scarier to be posturing like this as HANWHA life, especially because he does have that TP. Is seen now on the bottom wave, and we're just playing tug of war here.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Atakan does get a bit scarier even because Baron will be available by the time while you still have the buff if you take it at this point in time. So it's going to be Gen G that have everybody up here and just threatening this one.
I think Zeka showed that he was going bottom, and they start this up. He doesn't have TP just yet. Now shows up in the mid, and they're like, okay, well, I guess we stop.
Yeah.
It feels like both teams are just playing with fire here. It feels so risky.
I mean, this is like, you know, game 4 of the finals. Gen G do not want to throw this one away. They have a pretty nice lead with a wonky composition here. They're playing with fire, like you say, but they are certainly going to walk away if it looks like things could get a little bit hairy. And now the Dragon has spawned, so Gen G's side laning their way to the next Drake spawn. It would be soul point for them if they can pick this one up.
I feel like Gen G should just be focusing more on getting as many Infernal Drakes as possible. There's so much vision control around this Otacon, and yes, it is a high-value objective, but you can see that HANWHA Life Esports, they have their eyes set on this Infernal. And remember, guys, Chovy is not the jungler. He does not have Smite as the mid lane Viego, so he can't just kind of, you know, sneak this one away solo.
This is weird though, because I thought it'd be a smart play, because Chovy can solo the dragon and threaten it. So you threaten that, and on the other side they take the Atakan, but Ruler wasn't in position, so it's just gone, and they're so slow to move over to Atakan. HLE should be able to get up here, I think, in time?
Yeah, I think it's just a bit of a misread here from Gen G on what HANWHA were prioritizing.
I think they get it.
They might be able to try to fight, though.
HANWHA Life, they're just gonna let it go as
quick enough.
Yeah, just not able to quite get up there. They didn't have vision. I mean, you can assume they're doing it, but they get the Infernal, and now HANWHA will just have to play this game where they have to try to wait out for about 2.5 minutes.
I think the problem is it's a late Atakan, so Baron is up.
Yeah.
So you're going to be forced into contesting this Baron. Gen G already making moves over to it, and with Canyon there and Ruler there from the start, this will go down quickly.
Both Keen and Chovy critically have teleport. It'll take them a while to get in. Chovy going to utilize his right now after a back.
See Duro on vision. Peanut still not taken out, but there it is as he throws an ult in, and the damage is enough. They burst it down while Peanut is golden.
Clean.
And that is just a clean Baron and Otacon take here for Gen G.
Just shut down the enemy jungler, put him in stasis. Make sure you can lock them down. You had 100% pry. You've got so much damage with this Karthus. It is just easy to take, and there's no inherent risk when you have that much vision, but they have Otacon buff on top of it, and now they could do whatever they want on the map.
So many situations, especially since Otacon, the Voracious buff has been nerfed, it's felt like not as big of a deal. If there's no objectives up, you can maybe just wait it out, but when it's this late with Baron, it's such an easy play where you just immediately start the Baron afterwards, and Gen G playing everything right, really just dictating the pace of the game in a match that felt very back and forth in the early mid-game.
Zeka on Silas, unfortunately not having the impact he would like, as, okay, Duro just going to kind of run by them, but they have Requiem, they have TPs coming into light, is isolated, flashes over to the Magical Journey, but again, they still have Otacon, so best you were getting was 200 gold out of Duro. Instead, it is a Delight that goes down. And Gen G are really running away with this game now.
So a few resources burnt to ensure that your support gets out, but your support now has ultimate. So he's ready to set something up here.
Yeah, and they go. They already, okay, well, it's going to be Peanut who goes golden himself this time, but eventually just dies instead. And they're just getting bowled over. Still 25 seconds here on the Otacon buff. And they're going to lock down Viper on the backside there as, okay, nice peel from Zeka. Going to go golden himself as well. Meganar gets denied. And again, still 14 seconds on Otacon. So Gen G just pushing through and getting insane value out of this double bow. Maybe a kill here. You would have to wait 5 seconds, so not able to pick up the 200 gold either.
I feel like the fact they already had the Baron is more than enough. And honestly, that's one of the things with Baron is that, like, you want to push, you want to take objectives, but the fact they have Arakan on Baron makes it so hard to contest. And here, Delight just, I feel like it's kind of, he's committed at this point, he's looking for it, and he gets the flash from Duro, but it just feels like he's just not been able to have the impact on this Pantheon, and Duro has just been doing more and more as this game goes on.
Oh yeah, and here, he's looking for some setup on the Viper, but actually just ends up taking Viper out of the fight while they end up winning the front to back elsewhere. As you can see here, takes Viper out, gives them a lot of space, obviously, because Viper can help heal here a little bit. They get Zeka into stopwatch. Chovy does end up withdrawing, but helps get the kill on the Zeus, and they just force their way through to take out this inhibitor turret. And there's just so much map control for Gen G.
Flash on in, at least Zeka is here, but Peanut has just been farmed right now by Gen G. 4 kills in a row, it feels like, as the Zyra not quite hitting the mark. And Gen G just getting even more value out of their push. You can see the damage is already done by the Requiem, and you just have to back off. You only have 3 people there. Zeka not even here, finally gets back.
I mean, Chovy is just so huge at this point with Titanic and Death's Dance. He can just walk at them instead of for resets.
Well, Zeus has got to try to press some buttons here. He's not even able to clear the wave, and that should do it on this one. Chovy on the mid-Viego alongside of his team will be taking down this game number 4. And you guessed it, we will have Silver Scrapes here once again in these best of 5s as Blue Side reigns supreme 4 times in a row, getting the wins. Has even the stolen Bard ultimate on the wave, just desperately trying to stop this push. It might be able to now, but it's still 25 seconds on Zeus, and now 25 seconds on Viper. They get the stun here on a Peanut. He's got a Zanya's, and low on health. Gen G still not gonna back down. They will take this game number 4. And the problem for them really is that they'll be on red side for game 5. We'll have to see how that one does go as the series does get tied up 2-2.